Hi and welcome. My name is Ganesh. I'm from learnenglishlab.com, and in today's lesson we're going to talk about how to use used to correctly. Now this is one of the most misunderstood and misused areas of grammar, and by that I mean many students don't understand the structure and they make a lot of mistakes with it. Well, that's why we have this lesson today, and after watching this video you won't be making any of those mistakes. Alright, now the first and most important thing that you need to keep in mind is that used to talks about the past. It doesn't talk about the present or the future, it talks about the past. Now there is one situation where you can use it to talk about the present, but I will tell you what that is at the end of this video. But it's not that common, so you don't have to really worry about it. Just remember that we use used to talk about the past. Okay, in talking about the past, used to has two purposes. The first is to refer to past habits. Take a look at this sentence I have over here. I used to play soccer in high school. Now, when you hear me saying that sentence, you should immediately think of two things. First, this happened in the past, and second, this was a habit in the past. That means I'm not saying I played soccer one time in high school. No, I'm saying I used to play soccer in high school. That means it was a habit for me and I did it repeatedly. Have a look at this timeline I've got. Let's say that side is the future, this is now or the present, and over on this side is the past. All of these are the action, and the action is I used to play soccer in high school. So you can see that I did the action regularly or repeatedly, so it was a habit for me. In the second sentence, Matt used to drink coffee every morning. So once again, Matt did it every day. He did it as a habit. You also know that Matt perhaps does not do it now because we're saying Matt used to drink coffee every morning. So maybe Matt drinks tea now, or he doesn't drink anything in the morning. So that's one way to use used to, that is to talk about past habits. The second is to talk about states or situations that are no longer true. What do I mean by that? Well, have a look at sentence number 3. Karen used to live in Vermont. Notice that living is not really a habit because it's not something that we do repeatedly. It's simply a state of being, or a situation. And this is a situation that was true in the past. So Karen started living in Vermont at some point, and she lived in Vermont for some period of time, and then this situation finished. So let's extend this sentence. We can say Karen used to live in Vermont, but now she lives in New York. So that means she stopped living in Vermont, and at some point she moved to New York. In our last sentence, the office used to be very tidy when Frank was the manager. What do you understand when you hear that sentence? Well, I'm not really happy about the new manager because I'm saying the office used to be very tidy when Frank was the manager. So you know that that situation is now finished. Frank is not the manager anymore, and the office is not very tidy anymore. Tidy means neat and clean. So I'm saying it in a sort of a negative way. I'm saying the office used to be very tidy back then, and now it's not so tidy. So that again is a situation that is no longer true. Alright, so now you know the two major ways that we use used to. One is to talk about past habits, and the second is states or situations that were true in the past and that are no longer true. Okay, now let's take a quick look at how to make negative sentences and questions with used to. This is one place where a lot of students make mistakes. Alright, take a look at what I have over here. To make negative sentences, we put didn't in front of used to, and we remove the D from used to. That is very important. So didn't, use to. Let's make some negative sentences with these. In the first, I didn't used to play soccer in high school. Remember, didn't, used to. So I didn't used to play soccer in high school. Matt didn't used to drink coffee every morning. Can you make negatives with these? Karen didn't used to live in Vermont. Very good. The office didn't used to be very tidy when Frank was the manager. Now let me give you a tip here. If this is a little difficult to remember, the whole didn't used to business, you can simply make past simple tense negatives, and that is perfectly okay. By that I mean, you can very simply say, I didn't play soccer in high school. That is perfectly okay. Matt didn't drink coffee every morning. Karen didn't live in Vermont. In this sentence, the verb is be, so we need to say was. So the office wasn't very tidy when Frank was the manager. So you can either say didn't used to, or you can simply use a past tense, past simple tense negative. And it's the same thing with making questions as well. To make questions, we start the sentence with did, and then you fill in the subject. It can be I, you, he, she, it, anything. And then again, use, not used, used to. So did, the subject, and used to. Let's make questions with these. So in the first, did you used to play soccer in high school? I'm changing I to you to make it more natural sounding. Did you used to play soccer in high school? Before we move on to the second sentence, once again, just like with negatives, you can simply use a past simple question if you want. You can say, did you play soccer in high school? That is also okay. In the second, can you make a question? Did Matt used to drink coffee every morning? Very good. Or, did Matt drink coffee every morning? That is also okay. Number 3, did Karen used to live in Vermont? Or, did Karen live in Vermont? And number 4, did the office used to be very tidy when Frank was the manager? Or, was the office very tidy when Frank was the manager? Both of those are perfectly okay. All right, before we finish the lesson, there are 2 important points that I want to share with you. First is a common error alert. This is a place where I have heard many students making mistakes. And the mistake is that a lot of students say used to talk about present habits or situations. You cannot use used to in that manner. Let's say that I get up at 7 a.m. every morning. So the alarm rings at 7 in the morning. I turn off the alarm and I get up. So it is a present habit for me. Some students say, I used to get up at 7 a.m. every day. And they're talking about their present routine. That is wrong. If you want to talk about a present habit or routine, simply use the present simple tense. You can just say, I get up at 7 a.m. every day. It's very simple, okay? Don't say used to. Because if you say used to, the other person will think you're talking about a past habit, okay? They might be a little confused, okay? So just remember that point. And the last point I wanted to share with you is when you see this type of structure, be plus used to plus something, STH means something, then what that means is to be adjusted to something. Like in this sentence, I'm used to it. For example, imagine that I work at a factory and it's very noisy in my factory. And let's say one of my friends asks me, hey, how do you work in a factory? Isn't it really noisy? I might say, oh, I'm used to it. Here, I'm saying I am adjusted to it. I'm using used to as a shortcut for the word adjusted. Okay? Here, we're not talking about habits or situations or anything, just being adjusted to something. Keep that in mind. All right, let's do a quick recap. We use used to talk about 2 things in the past. One is past habits, and the second is states or situations that were true in the past and that are no longer true. We make negative sentences by using didn't used to, or simply with the past simple negative. Okay? Like, I didn't play soccer in high school. We make questions with did and then the subject and used to. Okay? Or we can make questions with the past simple. Okay, so did you play soccer in high school? That's also okay. Remember this common error. Do not use used to talk about present habits. For present habits, just use the present simple tense. And finally, to be used to something means to be adjusted to something. All right, I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Remember to subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you in another lesson soon.